You may have heard people claim the voice would be permanent and couldn't be changed. The fact is, there's really not much truth to this one. Enshrining the concept of the voice in the Constitution is as permanent as anything else in the Constitution, in that you'd need another referendum to remove it. But the constitutional amendment itself only creates the voice. It does not define how it will function or what it can do. None of that stuff belongs in the Constitution. The Constitution will just create a body called the Voice, an advisory group, with the only constitutional requirement being that it's called the Voice. But you don't have to believe some random guy on the internet. Here's Robert French, KC, former Chief Justice of Australia, the highest ranking judicial officer in the country, to explain it to you.
The voice is a body, and the ordinary meaning of that word in this context is a group of people who work together. The only constitutional requirement is that it be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice.
While the constitutional amendment would create a body called the Voice, it's up to the Australian Parliament to legislate it, or in other words, define the rules in which the voice will operate. Again, you don't need to listen to a random guy on the internet. Here's Robert French explaining it.
Section 129(3), which tells us that the composition, functions, powers and procedures of the voice will be up to the Parliament to determine, using the authority conferred upon it by that provision.
Just in case that's not enough, here's Noel Pearson explaining the same concept to Dan Tehan, member of the opposition and a no supporter.
This is what the provision says.
Yeah.
The Parliament shall have the power to make laws. The Parliament shall have the power to make laws. The legislation is your responsibility as a parliamentarian and Mullendery's responsibility as a parliamentarian to create the legislation after the referendum is secured. You've got the power to legislate here. Dan, I think you misunderstand the difference between the constitutional provision and the laws that are generated pursuant to it. You've got to separate the two things out. The constitutional provision can't be abolished. No. But the legislation can be chopped and changed for decades and decades to come.
So let me clarify before we go to our next question. If there was a change of government and Dan Tehan, the Liberal Party, wanted a different kind of voice, you could do that, right?
Completely. Completely.
Do you agree, Dan?
Well, you could, but it doesn't take... You could change the legislation.
You just couldn't get rid of it.
No, you can't get rid of it.
But honestly, because I'm a stickler for facts, sorry, and I know this area well. You couldn't get rid of it, but you could change it.
That's correct.
The Constitution creates it and then the Parliament legislates it.
Yes, yes.
That's correct.
Ultimately, Dan Tehan acknowledges that, yes, it is indeed the Parliament's responsibility to legislate the voice, and therefore it is the Parliament that has the power to change the voice how, if and when it sees fit.
There has been a lot of talk about, well, where's the detail? Of course, we know it's a constitutional provision and one doesn't ordinarily find granular detail in a constitutional provision. So the ultimate form and functions will be in the hands of the elected Parliament. If the people say yes, then it will be up to everybody on both sides of the debate to contribute to making Australia's decision work for the benefit of all Australians.